Okay, let's go ahead and get started. If there are more people trickling in, that's great. I want to welcome everyone to this Tai Chi program today. My name is Anubha Sood. I lead the Total Care program here at UT Southwestern. Thank you for being here in this cold. Just a few things before we get started. I'm sure all of you are signed up to receive information about what's happening with the Total Care program. We put out these events every month. In the odd months, we have virtual programs on Zoom. And in March, we will have Dr. Dan Novak, who is a patient advisor with the Parkinson's Foundation, come in and talk about financial concerns with Parkinson's disease. That's happening on March 14th. In April, we have our big annual symposium that some of you attended last year. It's coming up April 26th. And this time, our focus is going to be on non-motor symptoms. So we are going to get some neuropsychologists to talk about cognitive and behavioral concerns with Parkinson's disease. And, just a great program. We'll put out registrations, open that up on March 3rd. So look out for that. I want to thank our generous donors, the Heggie family, for making all of this programming possible. And I wanted to also introduce you to a new member of the Total Care team, Kathleen Cowell, who is a nurse navigator, and she is now in the clinic. So whenever you go to the clinic to Aston, do look her up and say hello, and she will too, she'll find you as well. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have Dr. Braitsch here today, and he's been such a great support to the Total Care program, and I'm very excited about this Tai Chi event today.
Good. Thanks. And thanks for having me. Yeah, how about a round of applause for Anuba and Janice planning this? My name is Dr. Mike Braitsch. I'm a physical therapist and a lifelong martial artist. And I know many of you, some of you I don't, and that's okay. By the end of today, we'll all be friends in Tai Chi, and that'll be pretty cool. So the plan for our session is this. We'll do a little bit of a warm-up to loosen up. We'll do a few simple drills from traditional Tai Chi training that can be really helpful for leg strength and hip strength and balance. We'll do a few basic techniques from traditional Yang style Tai Chi. There are 5 major styles of Tai Chi that are commonly practiced around the world, and Yang style, Y-A-N-G, Yang style, is the most commonly performed style, and it's usually, even in scientific research, when people say Tai Chi, they're usually talking about Yang style. It's the most heavily studied form of Tai Chi. And probably the reasons for that are many. But for us, the really good news is Tai Chi is slow and low impact. So if you got aches and pains, hopefully it doesn't flare anything up. And the good news, too, in martial arts training in general, especially with Tai Chi, is the more we do something, the easier it is to do. And we get a lot of repetition with our techniques. So the thinking is we'll take a few basic techniques from Yang style, and then we'll string them together. Because in really traditional training, somebody leading a group would just start running a routine, a form, which is almost like a dance, which is like a series of techniques that are strung together. And you just run that routine over and over and over a period of many years of trying your best to follow. You'd kind of figure the routine out. But I was taught a little bit differently of let's dive into the details and do those pieces over and over. And that's what I find to be so helpful for balance and coordination. But I've got a couple requests of you, and some of these Tai Chi all-stars that I've known very well over the years are used to these requests. It's 2 simple rules or requests. Rule or request number 1 is don't panic. because one of the many benefits of Tai Chi comes from its relaxing nature, and it's a form of action meditation. So I don't know if you're like me, but early on in learning Tai Chi, my brain would just kind of race. How am I ever going to remember all this? Am I doing it right? Did I miss something? Oh gosh, what's everybody else doing? And if your brain is at all like that, I'll just ask that you kind of ask that voice to just take a break and do some Tai Chi. So that was request number one. Don't panic. We're going to do stuff over and over. Request number two is if something hurts, stop and let me know, because we can modify all this stuff. And I've had some students in the past who they don't get out of a chair, and that's okay. I've had other students who say, gosh, I'm here to work on balance. My legs feel okay. My hips feel okay. My knees feel okay. I'm just going to do the footwork, buddy. And that's wonderful because we're still getting good repetition of things that help with your balance. There's no real wrong way to do this except for an unsafe, painful way to do it. So again, rule number two or request number two is just if something hurts or you feel unsafe, just stop. Let me know. I'll try to show you some modifications too for this stuff where if you feel like, hey, I'm somebody that would rather take a few minutes of doing this from the chair, you can do that. I'll show you some ways to do it where you can practice some of it, maybe hanging on to a chair. With chairs like this, and Janice was so wise getting these chairs. Sometimes people practice and they say, I'm going to use a chair for support and it has wheels on it. And you can imagine like an office chair, a desk chair, probably not as helpful because if you need to steady yourself and it kind of gets away from you, that's a problem. And we've got a PT here, so I really got to be on my game to make sure I'm saying stuff correctly. Fellow physical therapists. But we talk a lot in physical therapy about the line of gravity as it relates to different muscle movements or as it relates to support. And I'm saying this because if you're using a chair for support, this way is probably not as helpful as if you've got one side that's a little bit less stable, getting yourself positioned with that side close to the chair, so that way you could push straight down and get a little support if you need it. That makes sense? Any questions or concerns there? Okay. So here's what I thought we'd do. I thought we'd start, you're already seated. I figured I'd join you seated. We'll do some stuff from a chair. Then we'll stand up for a bit. We'll do some stuff standing. And then we'll get into some more formal techniques. And another fantastic feature of doing this here at UT Southwestern through the O'Donnell Brain Institute's Total Care program is this is recorded. So if you like what we're doing and you want to revisit what we're doing, I'm sure you'll get emails with a link to it, but also it'll live on YouTube forever or until YouTube disappears, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. And if you like this too, I've got a bunch of videos I can send you of other things. I've got a group that this is the 12th year of running it at Clyde Warren Park that's starting up next month. That's fun and free. It's open to everybody. So there's less of a focus on Parkinson's specific features of it. So that's one drawback of the class at the park. The other drawback of the class at the park is just the scheduling. I thought after all these years that I might get a little bit more of a prestigious spot in the Clyde Warren Park schedule, but they usually save their prime time slots for like fitness boot camps and big draws like yoga. So it'll be at 8 a.m. on Saturdays again this year. But there is a good side to that, which is it's usually hard to find parking around there, and it's not hard to find parking at 8 a.m. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, I always like to start and finish our group Tai Chi training in a really traditional way, which is this. We'll just sit tall, and if you were standing or if you're on Zoom and you're standing on Zoom, you can stand tall, that's fine. We'll sit or stand tall, and then as a sign of respect to each other and to the area we practice, we'll just give a slight bow. And we'll start warming up with some big arm motions. And what's pretty fun is some Tai Chi techniques look and feel a bit like a really common exercise program for people with Parkinson's called the LSVT BIG program, or maybe you've heard of it as big and loud. So as we do all this stuff, think big movements. But what we'll do is we'll just reach your arms down to the side. We're going to try to, as long as it's not painful, reach up towards the ceiling slowly. Deep breath as you reach up. Lace the fingers together. Let's get our feet nice and wide here in the chairs. We're going to keep our heads up and backs up as we lower the palms down. We'll reach back up overhead, and then we'll separate. Slower is better in Tai Chi, so don't feel like there's a rush to do anything. So we'll do that one again. We'll breathe in slowly and deeply as we reach out. Lace the fingers together, lower the palms. We're breathing out. Reach back up overhead. Separate. Again, we'll reach out, breathing in. Lower down, breathing out. Reach back up. Separate. We'll do one more. We'll get a little crazy with this one. Big reach. And just like earlier, we're going to lace the fingers together, interlock them together. Just like earlier, we'll press the palms down. And this time as we reach up, we'll lock the arms out overhead if you can. And if you have shoulder pain, don't worry about keeping them up this high. But let's try just tilting a little bit to the side. And then we'll breathe in as we rise up. Hey, trip. Let's breathe out as we tilt to the other side. Breathe in as we rise up. Breathe out as we side bend little by little. In as we come up. Other side, one more time. Come on up. And then we'll separate. Hopefully that feels pretty good. And I'm kind of chatty, so I'm probably going to talk a lot through this. And the hope is to give you some instruction, but also to give you a little bit of some of the aspects of it that are really helpful for different Parkinson's symptoms. For instance, a lot of people with Parkinson's disease and a lot of people without Parkinson's disease are fighting this posture with the forward head, the rounded shoulders. We get tightness in the pecs. So for this next warm-up, really try to keep your head up high and your back up straight. And let's try to get some big shoulder rolls. We'll bring the shoulders up, way back behind you, down and around. Big, slow circles. And as you bring those shoulders back behind you, really squeeze those shoulder blades in towards your spine. Up, back, really push the chest out and around. Because we know that posture comes with tightness in the pecs, those muscles on the front of your chest. And that often makes it harder to activate those muscles between your shoulder blades. So just big circles like this can be really helpful. Great for shoulder health, great for rib and spine mobility. Couple more big ones, and then we'll change directions. Big circles the other way, up and around. Hopefully you're feeling great. So we used to have at my clinic, up until last year, we had 3 group classes a week of Tai Chi. And, you know, life has changed, things have changed. But our friend Yolanda is here in this lovely red beret. And Yolanda has started a group also that uses recorded classes from the past. And they meet up on Zoom. If you like it, you want to try that out, that's another way to get going. It's fun to spread the word at things like this. Okay, we're going to do another one. And again, the goal of these is to feel good. So you don't feel like you're forcing anything, but why not give yourselves a hug since we're in a chair here. We don't want the arms to hang, but we'll give ourselves a hug and we'll sit up tall and just gentle twisting. Try to keep your feet on the floor. Try to keep your back up straight. If you go really far and it feels like, that kind of hurts, just back off a little bit. The name of the game here is gentle. And if gentle's working, you might try to take it a little bit further. A little bit further. We've got a couple of folks here who said, hey, I do rock steady boxing, which is fantastic, but a very different type of workout. So by the end of the day today, you're either going to fall in love with Tai Chi or you're going to reinforce your decision to do boxing. And either way, as long as you're taking positive action, that's a beautiful thing. And the good news for all of us too is we're doing Tai Chi, which is certainly more exciting than watching Tai Chi. For a lot of people, watching it is like watching paint dry. But doing it, you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. Okay, so we did some rotation. We did some shoulder movement. Why don't we, if you're feeling up for it, we'll stand up. And if you feel like, hey, I'd rather sit, what we're going to do is we're going to do a stretch for the inner thigh. So if you'd rather sit, you can just try to scoot towards the front of your chair and reach a leg out to the side. That's one way to do a seated version of this. But if you feel okay with standing, we can stand on up. And here, if you want some support, you might get behind your chair or use a chair in front of you. Earlier, I said get to the side of it, and I spoke too soon, because for this one, I would like it in front of you, because we're going to get our feet a little wider than hips width, and I want you to try to point your toes straight ahead. And I was checking out everybody's footwear here earlier. It looks like we're in a pretty good space. Nobody's wearing high heels or anything too wild. So we can bend one knee and straighten the other. I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to say left, because it's hopefully your left. And then we'll try to keep the head up and the back up. And we'll just hold it here for a few seconds. Try to keep your toes straight ahead. Head up high, back up straight. We got one knee bent. We got the other one straight. And hopefully you're feeling just a little gentle stretch on the inner thigh of that straightened out leg. We'll go to the other side. So Tai Chi is interesting in that it's a really old form of exercise. And you might say, how old? And I'll say, well, that's where it gets a little dicey. The documented history on Chinese martial arts, like Tai Chi, is a little hard to find because of the Cultural Revolution. When the government took over, a lot of things disappeared. We know Tai Chi practice is at least 300 years old, but some people think maybe it's thousands of years old. And there are even cave drawings of a routine of Qigong exercises. Qigong is another thing that looks and feels a lot like Tai Chi. It just doesn't have a martial application, a fighting application. And you might say, hang on a second there, Mike, are we fighting today? Don't worry, we're not fighting anybody. We're fighting stiffness. We're fighting tension. And we're letting go of stress. We're not even fighting stress, right? We're just letting go of stress. But there is, at advanced levels, a fighting application. And even then, you'd have to really speed things up. And you'd have to have a whole lot of training on the application to feel like, come on in, to feel like you're applying it. So I don't ever really worry about that with students of, hey, let's throw somebody across the room with our chi. That'd be there's no need. There's just no need. All right, come on up. And hopefully your legs are feeling pretty good. We're going to do some more warm-ups for the legs. And this next one looks a little crazy, but we can pull it off, okay? The standing version of this one, and we can do a seated version if you need to. I'll show you the seated version in case you decide you want to do it. The seated version is just rocking the knees slowly side to side with big rotation. The standing version is a little crazier, but we can pull it off. We'll bring the feet together. We'll gently bend the knees. We don't have to get too low. Hands on the thighs. And we'll do some gentle circles. I teach in a physical therapy school. And when I've done a lecture and lab on Tai Chi, and at a recent, in the fall, Texas Physical Therapy Association conference, I gave a talk and a workshop on Tai Chi, and some of the people said, hang on there, Mike, this feels like some kind of edgy dance in a club or something. And I'm like, no, we're just coating joint surfaces here with synovial fluid from gentle movement. That's all we're doing. We're not breaking it down at the club, people. Okay. So that was just a little something to limber up the knees. Now, if you want some support, you could turn a chair to the side and hang on. That'd be a little easier for what we'll do next. I want you to just take one foot. You can kind of push down in that chair for some support and take one foot, just toe down, heel up. We're going to do gentle, slow circles. We're just trying to get the ankles moving through some big rotation. Because a lot of people say this phrase all the time with exercise. They say, use it or lose it. And that's true for anyone. Also, you can say, use it and improve it, right? Like the more I do something, the easier it is to do a little more. But there are certain movements that a lot of us just don't do very often. So warm-ups like we get in Tai Chi move a whole lot of things that don't normally move, which helps to get rid of some stiffness. Let's get the other ankle. Big circles, gentle circles. It's pretty common for one ankle to feel like it's a little more mobile than the other. That's okay. We're just going to get what we can out of this stuff and not worry about any of the rest of it. And then, probably for this one, it's best if we just sit, because I don't know everybody. So for this one, we'll just go back to our chairs, because we're going to do some big movement with our necks. Yeah. So we can get a chair. Oh, this will be easy. There are extra chairs even. Oh, thank you. Okay. So for this one, again, we'll try to get the feet nice and wide. We'll try to keep the back up straight. And we're going to start simply. So we'll just start like we're nodding yes. Big, slow looking up at the ceiling and then down towards the floor. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to just get as much motion from the neck as we can here. Slow and gentle movement. We got the feet on the floor, get the back up straight. We're just doing some big yes nodding. Hopefully little by little, and going slowly here, little by little, hopefully we can make them a little bigger. I feel like if nothing else with Tai Chi warm-ups, people feel where they have the most stiffness and aches. And that can be really helpful to know what you need to work on. We'll do another one here where let's set our shoulders back and down again. Check the spine, make sure we're sitting up tall. And this next one, we're going to side bend. So we're just going to tilt the ear towards the shoulder. And then slowly and gently we'll come up. We'll go to the other side. Just tilt it. Come up. This gentle side bending. And I feel like these neck warm-ups, especially when facing the stiffness and tightness that can come from life with Parkinson's, these can be really helpful to do. Sometimes people feel a whole lot better in the neck and in the shoulders right away. Sometimes you try them a few days and you think, wow, I didn't realize I was so tight. Big, gentle motion here. One more for the neck, which is a little crazy, but we're going to end up doing some big circles, and we'll take our time with them. So first, just try to drop your chin down towards your chest, and then I want you to just roll your head all the way around. Great big circle all the way around, and then change directions. Big circle the other way. Up and around one way, and then up and around the other. Some members in Tai Chi groups I've had over the years have said things like, gosh, I'm hearing a lot of cracking. And that's pretty normal. As long as it's not painful, that's okay. And some folks in our groups over the years have joked, maybe cracking in the neck is a sign of intelligence. And we can just convince ourselves, you know, we're really smart, don't worry, it's okay. We know a lot of joint surfaces, you know, at each joint in the body are synovial joints. Most of our joints are synovial joints. So the more we gently move those through their available motion, the more that synovial fluid coats those joint surfaces, keeping things a lot healthier and letting them move better. So that's part of why the more you do some of these exercises or these warm-ups, you can get a little bit more out of each other. So we've done some stuff for the spine, we've done some stuff for our shoulders, we've done some stuff for our legs and ankles. We have yet to really focus on deep breathing, which is one of the great features of Tai Chi. And what I mean by that is hopefully if you know, normally people in a chair kind of think, oh, I'm going to relax, but hopefully you can sit up and try not to use the back of the seat. And then hopefully you can bring your shoulders back and down, like you're squeezing your shoulder blades in towards your spine and down towards your back pocket. And take the crown of the head, press it up towards the ceiling. So a really long spine here. And what we want to try to do is some deep belly breathing. So for this, feel free to close your eyes or feel free to find a spot on the wall to focus your eyes on. And I'll have you bring your hands just below your belly button. And all we're going to do here is we're going to take a slow, deep breath in for maybe a 3 or a 4 count. And feel your stomach expand out against your palms. Really try to imagine you're bringing the air into your belly. And then as you exhale, feel those hands just fall back towards your hips and spine. So in for a slow 3 or 4 count, a lot of little bits of air instead of big gulps of air. You could think of it as sipping the air and out little by little. And this deep belly breathing that we're doing, especially if we exhale a little bit more slowly than we inhale, Also really helps to oxygenate the body and the brain, helps to get rid of an important stress hormone called cortisol. Or like my teacher used to tell me when I was doing a lot of competitive fighting, and he made me start taking Tai Chi as well. He said a lot of times, if nothing else, we can control our breath. And once you can control your breath, maybe there's other stuff you can start to control. When things get a little crazy, this same deep belly breathing goes a long way in just slowing things down, hopefully reminding you what you can control. Let's try to time that breathing with some movement now. So we won't get too crazy just yet, but we're going to try to time that breathing with some movement. So we can start out palms up. We're going to kind of relax the elbows here, relax the shoulders, and we're just going to scoop up towards the shoulders as we breathe in. And then we'll turn the wrists out, and little by little we'll reach out, breathing out. Again, think of this as bringing fresh air, fresh energy in the body from below. Breathing out, feeling even more relaxed. Slow, deep breath in. Even slower and softer breath out. In and out. One more and we'll change directions. Breathe in as we scoop up. Yeah. And reach out, breathe out. Good. Let's change directions now. So now we'll reach out, breathing in, and then we'll bring the palms in as we lower down, breathing out. In and out. In, out. Keep going here. A lot of times people talk about mindfulness. And as it relates to Parkinson's disease, we know Parkinson's disease is the poster child for the mind-body connection. Because any new physical stress can give you a short-term spike in symptoms. And any new mental stress can give you a short-term spike in symptoms. But we also know things that relax can help reduce the severity of those symptoms in the moment. And that's not to say, it'll totally eradicate symptoms, but I think you've probably experienced this. And an example comes to mind of a buddy of mine who had his 96-year-old mother-in-law move in with him. And he was a little stressed out. And his freezing of gait dramatically increased, where he got stuck, feet are festinating, flying on the floor. And he said, I can't figure out why this is happening so much more over the last couple weeks than before. Am I getting worse? Is my Parkinson's disease getting much worse? Well, with your neurologist, you can do a lot of testing to figure that out. But do you have any new stress in your life? And sure enough, he could point to this change of his home environment. And once he was able to realize that, he was able to use some mindfulness practices to help knock that stress down and help knock some of the severity of those symptoms back down. And if he were here with us today in this room, he would probably also want me to let everyone know there was no amount of mindfulness that was as helpful as when his mother-in-law moved out. He let everyone know that. Things were much better for him. But again, no matter what's going on, you can practice these tools like our deep belly breathing. If nothing else, you can call back that deep belly breathing, and hopefully that'll help get you back in the moment and restore some personal power. We're going to try to use that same deep belly breathing to regulate our speed of movement. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you want to stay in the chair, you can do the arms for this motion in the chair. In a moment, I'll stand and I'll show you the standing version too. But no matter whether you're sitting or standing, hopefully you can keep the head up high, the back up straight, shoulders back and down. And for this one, we're going to imagine you've got a string attached to your wrist, like early movie Pinocchio, not later when he's a real boy, but when he's a marionette puppet, the strings at first. So I want you to just imagine somebody tugging those strings to draw those wrists just up to shoulder height. And then we'll turn the palms out a bit. We'll lower the arms down. So if you want to stay in the chair, this is the version of this, breathing in all the way up to shoulder height and then lowering the arms down. And then I'll do the standing version, and it's really similar. But again, hopefully we've got feet. I want to get where I can kind of see everybody good. Feet, for now, we'll do feet about hips width or a little wider. Again, shoulders back, head up high. We'll draw the wrists up, breathing in. And then we'll lower the palms, breathing out. And again, if nothing else, 2 points of focus here. One, that slow, deep belly breathing. And the second one, just keeping that head up and back up. There aren't a lot of physical therapy or exercise research papers that make it to really high-level journal articles like a journal like the New England Journal of Medicine. But there is a 2012 journal article there about Tai Chi and Parkinson's, which came from a fellow that came through the movement disorders program here at UT Southwestern, oddly enough. And that article had great impact because it showed how Tai Chi helps with balance and postural control for people with Parkinson's. So I say all that because throughout our motions, if you can think, I'm going to keep my back up straight, it makes it easier to regain that awareness of where your body is or where parts of your body are relative to the others, because normally it's easy to kind of tip forward with this one a lot of times. So let's make it a little trickier. We'll leave the arms alone for a moment and we'll just do some footwork. So we can start out here, feet together. And again, you can kind of hang on to something if you need to and try to stay pretty close to it if you're hanging on to something. But what we're going to do is we're going to take your left heel and we're going to just little by little peel that heel up off of the floor. Keeping your toes pointed straight ahead, we're going to lightly step out to your left, onto the toes, and then little by little, we're going to even out the weight in both feet. So hopefully when you finish, your feet are about hips width. So let's try that again. We're standing here, minding our own business, all is well, and all of a sudden, it's Tai Chi time. We'll peel the heel little by little up off the floor, lightly step out, and then little by little, we're just going to even out the weight in both feet. And I want you to pay special attention to how it feels on your feet, where you feel the foot accept that weight, because that really it does wonders for balance training. It helps to boost your awareness of where your body is in space. So we just step out little by little, we're evening out the weight. And how could we get out of this in a more Tai Chi way? Well, we could pick that heel back up. We could step in on the toes and then lower the heel down. So we can try it again. We'll add a little bit more. So we're standing here, feet together. Little by little, the heel comes up. We'll step out and even out the weight. Then let's sink just a bit into like a high squat. Keep your head up and your back up. We'll stand up nice and tall. We'll pick the heel up, step in on the toes, lowering it down. One more like this. We're doing great. Heel up, lightly step out, even out the weight, sink, come back up, heel up, step in. And you're doing great. I thought we would probably do a bunch more repetitions, but you're doing great. So now, if you're up for it, we can add the arms. If you're somebody who's saying, hang on, Mike, I'm just doing footwork and you can't stop me. That's okay. That's okay. Or if you're hanging on, you might just do the arm that you're not hanging on with. You know what I mean? Because safety matters. But I'll face the other way so you can kind of see. Hopefully you can see my feet. You see? Okay. Okay. So we're standing tall, shoulders back. Let's take a deep breath and let go of it before we begin. Deep breath in and out. And then we'll pick that heel up little by little, lightly step out. And as we even out the weight, we're going to draw the wrists up, palms out, and then we'll sink. We'll draw the wrists back up, breathing in. Step in on the toes, lower the arms and the heel down. Looking good and feeling good. Here we go. We'll do it again. Heel up, step out, breathe in, sink, breathing out. Come back up, step in, hands and heel down together. One more. Heel up, step out, breathe in, sink. Come back up, step in, hands and heel down. In traditional practice, that's a movement we use to open our routines, our forms, and to close our routines. And normally we would only do that to the left for whatever crazy reason. That's traditional. And we're going to be non-traditional today in the Thompson Family Conference Center. And that's okay. Nobody's going to call the Tai Chi cops, but we're going to go to the right with it because that way we can work on balance and control to the right too. So again, what did we do earlier? We picked the heel up. We lightly stepped out. We drew those wrists up as we even out the weight. Lowering down, we're sinking our weight into the heels. Come back up, breathing in. Step in onto the toes. Hands and heel down together. Hopefully you're feeling great. Let's do a couple more this way. Heel up, step out, deep breath in, out, back up, step in, lower down. Again, heel up, step out, one more, even more slowly if you can. Heel up, step out, deep breath, slow movement. Coming up little by little, stepping in, lowering down. Good. So that's our first big Tai Chi technique. And that one is called drawing the silk. We have crazy names for stuff in Tai Chi. That one is called drawing the silk. Next up, we're going to do one that works on coordination and is kind of crazy. And it's a signature move of Yang style Tai Chi. This crew knows it. Parting the wild horse's mane. Yeah, it's got a great name. Okay, so why not take your left hand and bring it to your belly button? Left hand to your belly button. I'll mirror you like you're looking in a weird mirror, and hopefully that's helpful. Other hand below the chin, palm down. We call this holding the ball because it's like you got an imaginary ball between your two palms. And so you could take a nice deep breath in, and then you could bring that bottom hand out around your imaginary ball, just to about shoulder height with the palm a little bit tilted up towards the ceiling. Yeah, so let's bring it back. So we're holding the ball, the bottom hand goes out around the ball. Mhm. Bring it back nice and slowly. Out, around the ball. Bottom hand goes out. And then you might say, well, what about the top hand, man? We'll take the top hand and we'll just put it down by your side with the palm down and the fingertips straight ahead. Arm a little bit rounded if you can get it. Really squeeze that shoulder blade back. And that's kind of cool because when all of you just did that at once, you all got like an inch or two taller, which was pretty cool. And here we go. We'll hold the ball. And what did we say earlier? We said the bottom hand goes out and the top hand goes down. We can gather up the ball. Don't worry. Remember rule number 1, no worrying, right? So bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. Gather the ball back up. And now if you want to keep doing it as a 2-part motion, do it. Bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. Or if you want to go even more slowly, we can separate, trying to do them both at the same time. Bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. And in a perfect world, both hands would reach their end destination. Hey there, welcome, Debbie. Good to see you. And then we'll gather the ball back up. Have a seat right here. Come on. This is great. So we're holding the ball, and then we'll separate. Bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. Gather the ball back up. One more. We can try to time it with our breath. Take a deep breath in, and we'll try to separate the whole time, breathing out. Yeah, good. Other side. Other hand to the belly button. So now your right hand to the belly button, and then your left hand on top. We got the feet about hips width. And you can do this seated or standing, it's up to you. But just like earlier, what did we do? The bottom hand went out around our imaginary ball, and the top hand went down to the side, palm down, fingertips straight ahead. Gather the ball back up. Bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. Gather the ball. Bottom hand goes out. See, we're working on coordination. Top hand goes down. And this is, people might say, well, I'm not coordinated, man. But this is how you get better at coordination. And what's great is you can slow it down even more. And that's even better Tai Chi. Just a couple more. So we're holding the ball. And then the bottom hand goes out. And the top hand goes down. Gather the ball. One more. Separate those hands. Bottom hand out, top hand down. Good. Gather the ball. Okay. Let's give the arms a rest. Let's get back to some legs. If you want to do the footwork for this one from the chair, let me show you what I'm going to have you do. I'm going to have you sit in your chair and hopefully towards the front of your chair. Because what I want you to do, if you're doing this from the chair, is I want you to work on still trying to get that upright spine, good postural control. And what we're going to do is we're going to step out on the heel, if you can, a little bit wider than hips width. And little by little, we're going to flatten the feet. We'll pick the heel back or the toes back up, and we'll step in and put it down. So if you're doing it standing, you know from earlier, you can hang on to something. We can get a chair here for support if you need it. But what we can do is we can start out with the feet together. Yeah, why not hang on to something, right? Yeah. And then we can step out on the heel, a little bit wider than hips width, and flatten the feet little by little. Front knee bends, back leg's pretty straight, head up and back up. This is a stance called Gongbu stance, bow stance. And really traditional Tai Chi training, you just do a couple of stances for an hour and hold them. And that'd be your your first class to show your teacher you're dedicated or whatever, but we're here for fun and to work on stuff, right? So let's sit back like we're sitting on the edge of a chair, and we'll pick the toes up, and then we'll step back in. Yeah, let's do it again. We'll step out on the heel. Little by little, we'll flatten the feet, bend the front knee. Sitting back like we're sitting on the edge of a chair, we'll peel those toes up and step back in. If you're a little wobbly coming back, just take a shorter step forward. What matters more for the stances in this thing is the width. And that helps because the wider stance makes you a little more stable. So we'll do a couple more here. We're picking the heel up, step out on the heel. We'll flatten both feet little by little, bend that front knee a bit, and then we'll sit back, toes up, step in. Good. Let's try the other leg, huh? We'll step out on the heel, little wider. Yeah, yeah. And then we'll flatten both feet little by little. And then we'll sit back, picking the toes up, and step in. Now, my friend Kathleen here, like I said, is a physical therapist like I am. And a lot of times in physical therapy, we work on, for balance training, slow or controlled weight shifting. And we try to boost people's focus on somatosensory input, knowing where their feet are and getting a sense of where their center of mass is compared to their base of support. And this is a drill that you can do with some support at home, a minute at a time. If you're a little wobbly coming out, just take a shorter step. But you can take your time, flattening those feet, sitting back and controlling that weight shift. And over time, it gets a little easier. Good. All right, let's give it a little rest, a little bit of a rest here. We can kind of shake it out. Because we're going to put it together. Isn't that great? Yeah, we're going to put the arm motions together with the footwork. And we know if it's too much, then you can just pick the thing you want to focus on, right? If it's too tricky to get the footwork and the hand motions together, well, you could just pick the hand motions. Or you could just pick the foot motions. But if you feel up for it, we can try to put the whole thing together. Now, if you're holding on to something, which is never a bad idea when we're working on balance, just do one hand, because our technique has two hands. But if you're hanging on, okay, I'm going to do one hand. That's fine. Still coordinating a lot of stuff. Oh, I scooted off camera. My bad. I scooted off camera. I wanted to see everybody's feet, Okay, so we're getting ready to part the wild horse's mane, and it's going to be fan-freaking-tastic. It's Friday afternoon. We've survived the Arctic weather. All is well. So let's put this together and have a good time. And remember, if you need to hang on, that's okay. It's still good to just focus on the footwork. But if you're up for doing both and you feel safe doing both, let's take left hand to the belly button, palm up, and I'll mirror you. Right hand below the chin, palm down. We're going to pick the left heel up, step out, and the whole time we flatten those feet and shift the weight, bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. So when you finish, hopefully you've got one arm at about shoulder level, other arm's down by your side, front knees bent, back leg's pretty straight, feet are flat on the floor. Heel down, yeah. And then we'll sit back, pick up the toes, step in and gather the ball. Isn't that cool? So we can work on a lot of coordination. It's wonderful. So we'll step out and separate. Bottom hand out, top hand down. Coming back, we'll step in, gather the ball. We'll step out, separate. Bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. Whoa. Okay, just making sure. Stay close to that chair if you need it. And then coming back, we'll gather the ball. Yeah. Step out and separate. And then we'll come back and gather. Let's try the other side, huh? Other side. Right hand to the belly button, left hand on top. We'll step out with the right this time. We'll step out on the heel, separate. Bottom hand out, top hand down. Come back, hold the ball. And you might just keep one hand right there, you know? Yeah, that's a good move. Yeah. We'll step out, separate. We'll come back, hold the ball. And if it feels like it's getting easy, good. But if you wanted to make it harder, you could go even more slowly because that takes more control and more focus. You could sink a little lower. If you wanted to make it easier, what could you do? Well, you could take a shorter step. And you could do one hand and then the other, just like we were doing earlier. So it's easily modified. But so far, we've done drawing the silk. We've done parting the wild horse's mane. Let's get one other. Let me see what you folks think here. It's been a while since you've done some Tai Chi. You have a favorite you want to do? Let's try rooster stands on one leg. And then we'll do the seated version. And then for those that want, we'll do the standing version. That's fantastic. Great, Brent. Okay, so we can make our way to the chair. And again, even from a chair, you can still work on postural control. You can work on sitting balance. And how do you do that? Well, you try to scoot a little bit forward. So that way you're not relying on the back of the seat. And let's go over the hand motions first. This will be great. So you can pick a hand that you want to do this with. And we'll start out pointing those fingertips down towards the floor. And we'll take the ridge of the hand here. We're going to draw it up to shoulder height. We'll draw it in towards you. And then we're going to press the pinky side of the hand forward. Yeah. And then we'll lower it down. So we can start out palms down, fingertips straight ahead, shoulder blades back and in. Look at that. Looking good. Sitting tall. Pick a hand, point the fingertips down. We'll breathe in as we draw that ridge of the hand up to shoulder height. Pull it in. And then we'll breathe out as we press the pinky side of your hand forward. Lower down. We'll try the other hand next. Fingertips down. We'll breathe in as we draw it up. Pull it in. Press the pinky side forward. Lower it down. Let's just keep alternating, huh? Breathe in. We'll draw the wrist up. Pull it in. Press forward. Lower down. Draw it up, breathing in, pull in and press. Lower with good control. Looking good. Other side. Breathe in, keep that head up and back up. Down. One more. Bring it on up. Oh, yeah. Good. That's the arm motion. But you might have heard me say to my friend Brent here the name of the technique, which was rooster stands on one leg. Tai Chi techniques have interesting names. Rooster stands on one leg. So that kind of gives you a preview. Probably we're going to be on one leg, right? And there are harmonies in Tai Chi. They say harmony of elbow and knee, harmony of wrist and ankle, harmony of shoulders and hips. What we're going to try to do is imagine, again, just like a marionette puppet, how it has a string from hand to foot. We're going to imagine from our base posture here that there's a string from hand to foot, And as we draw that wrist up, we're picking the knee up any amount, sitting tall though, pulling it in and pressing forward. And then we're going to try and lower them together. And you feel you got to really use that core to sit up tall. Isn't that cool? Other side here. We'll bring it on up any amount, pull in and press, lower it down. Breathe in as we float it up, out as we press, lower down. In, out, down. One more on each side here. In, out, down. Last one. In, out, and down. Good. And next, we can try to do the weight shifting and footwork hanging on to something. And then those of you that feel really great about it, maybe we'll advance to not for some hanging on. So there's no wrong way. If you want to stay in the chair and do it from the chair, keep at it. If you want to stand and hang on, stand and hang on. But what we're going to do here is for this one, we're going to have the feet about hips width. Let's shift your weight over. If you're using a chair, shift your weight over towards the chair side for this one. And then pick up the other leg, any amount. And then we'll put it down, hopefully slowly and softly. Yeah. So we can breathe in, floating it up. Out, putting it down softly. And I'll let you know, a lot of people are going advanced here and not hanging on, and that's okay as long as you're safe. Some folks I've had over the years doing this very technique will just shift the weight over and maybe lightly step out in front. That's a great way to do it. Or maybe they'll shift over and then step out and tap the foot. And if that feels okay, good. Then you might shift over, and if tapping felt easy, you might pick the foot up. So we got options. If you want to hang on to something, you can hang on. If you want to lightly step out, you can lightly step out. Find something that feels safe for you. Here we go. Shift over. Pick the leg up. And then we'll put it down with good control. We can try the other side. Pick the knee up any amount. Put it down with good control. Breathing in, we're floating it up. Out as we hold it. Put it down. In. Out. And down. You might say, how long are we supposed to hold this technique? Well, in a really traditional setting, you'd hold it for a slow 4 count and then put it down. But we're here for fun. You know, hold it for whatever feels good. And then, how about this? If you've been hanging on and you feel like that's a good move, just keep hanging on. And if you feel up for doing it without, we can add the hands, or if you want to sit, we can do it and add the hands. So you got options. If you feel unsafe, sit, do it with the hands. If you want to hang on, maybe just do the hand on one side. But we can bring those arms to the side, shift over, draw the wrist up, hold it, and then we'll put it down together with good control. Breathing in and out. And you can see everybody in here is at a different level with this, and that's okay because we're all different people, right? But we can all work on balance and control wherever we are with this stuff. And remember, if it's too tricky to pick a way up, you can just lightly step out. That's still working on getting a little more weight in one leg. You could still lightly step out. Or you could tap the foot if you have to. That's okay. We know it's just so important, especially with Parkinson's, to really practice weight shifting for a number of reasons. One, that boosts input to the brain that helps with, it's one major source of balance input. So you got three main sources of balance input. One is that somatosensory input we've been talking about, knowing where my body is, feeling it, feeling the weight shift. Another is visual input, and then there's the deep inner ear, the vestibular input. So no matter how you feel, it's just so critical to work on weight shifting to boost that input to the brain for balance. And then also, especially for people who experience freezing or festinating, a lot of times slowing down, stopping altogether, taking a deep breath like we've practiced, and then weight shifting can be a really helpful key to success with managing those freezing episodes. That's one more reason I love Tai Chi. But let's do this. We've been at it. We've been learning a lot. Let's try stringing it together, huh? Won't that be crazy? Let's do this. We'll try stringing it together from the chair once, and then we'll try stringing it together standing if you'd like. Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great. We can pull this off because we've done three major techniques today, right? We've done drawing the silk. We've done, what was this one? Parting the wild horse's mane. Whenever I do this with any group, I just in my mind imagine everybody saying all the names in unison, like parting the wild horses. It was just fun to imagine. And then we did rooster stands on one leg. So that's pretty cool. So, okay, so from the chair, the version of this that we do is we bring the feet together, shoulders back and down, back up straight, crown of the head up towards the ceiling, and we can let the arms hang. And before we do anything else, we're going to take a nice deep breath here, in and out. And then it's Tai Chi time. We'll peel the left heel up. Lightly, we'll step out to the side. And as we lower that heel down, we're going to draw the wrists up. Lower them down, but keep the head up and the back up. Left hand to the belly button. Right hand on top. Let's step towards the corner of your chair on the heel. And as we flatten the foot, bottom hand goes out, top hand goes down. As we bring this foot in, we'll bring the left hand under the chin, right hand to the belly button. We'll step out with the right. Bottom hand goes out, top hand down. Good. We'll bring it back, arms down to the side, palms down, fingertips forward. Rooster on one leg. We'll start with your left side first. Point those fingertips down towards the floor. Draw the wrist up. Press. Put them down. Looking good. Yeah, good. A little easier to do it, to hold it. Yeah. Although it's still hard work on the hips and the core. And then we'll draw the wrists up. Step in. Lower down. That was one round through our mini routine. Just 3 techniques and a lot of work. Let's do it again, and it might feel a little easier. We'll do it one more time here, seated. Something happens where the first time it's like, what? And the second time it's like, oh, maybe I can do some of this. Okay, so we're sitting tall, feet together, shoulders back, head up, arms down. We'll take a nice deep breath in and let it go. And away we go. Left heel comes up. We'll lightly step out. Draw the wrists up. Head up and back up as we breathe out and lower the arms down. Left hand to the belly button. Right hand below the chin. We'll step out on the heel. Separate. Bring that left hand in under the chin. Right arm to the belly button. We'll step out with the right and separate. Stepping back in, arms down to the side. Left side, hand and foot up. Press. Put it down. Right side, bring them up. Lower them down. And then we'll draw the wrists up. Step in, lower them down. Nice deep breath here. Okay. And if you were hanging on earlier, why not just stay in the chair? We'll get another repetition that way. If you were standing up and felt pretty good without hanging on to something, you feel free to stand up. We'll do it standing. But here we go. Seated or standing, we got the shoulders back, we got the head up high. We're going to take in and let go of a nice deep breath. And it's Tai Chi time. We start peeling that left heel up, lightly stepping out. Draw those wrists up. Sink. Left hand to the belly button, right hand below the chin. We'll step out on the heel. And as we shift the weight or flatten the feet, bottom hand goes out, top hand down. Come back. Left under the chin, right to the belly button. Step out, separate. Coming back. This is where it's going to get a little crazy with the rooster. Remember what works for you. Wrist up and the foot any amount. Press. Put them down. Other side, bring them up. Press. Put them down. Draw the wrists up. We'll step in on the toes. Hands and heel down together. Good. Nicely done. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. We just did a lot. And I will warn you of this. When we do, anytime you do exercise that you haven't done in a while, or it's different than what you've done in a while, it's pretty normal to feel some muscle soreness a day after, 2 days after. Yeah, maybe even now. I'm just saying that because if somebody wakes up tomorrow and they think, gosh, what happened to my legs? Well, we just did a lot with our legs. I don't want you thinking, I've got sudden intense dystonia or something like that. Or take me to the ER, you know, not over leg soreness. You know, that's somewhat normal. But I sure appreciate you all showing up today and working hard. And how about just like we started, we can kind of close things out, whether you're seated or standing, by getting that spine nice and tall, and then giving each other, and where we practice a slight bow. And again, give yourselves and everybody else in here a big round of applause for good work. That was great. Thank you for trying some Tai Chi with me. Nicely done.